Hello, and welcome to Chapter 6, The Politics of Public Opinion from the American Government, 3rd edition textbook from Open Stax. So in this lecture, we will be talking about public opinion and how it affects your beliefs and how it came about, how public opinion comes about in your political socialization as well. And so, of course, you can see here governor and presidential candidate Mitt Romney, and at the moment of this recording, a U.S. Senator as well. So, measuring political opinion. Politics is very divided, and we all, in some form or shape or form, we all have political opinions. We can have disagreements about our political opinions, but they come, of course, as we talked about in the Constitution, we do have the right to our own political opinions, and we reserve the right to have those without interference from the government, as long as it doesn't cause harm to others or to the nation itself. So, of course, political scientists measure political differences by, of course, collecting information on public opinion. And we're going to find out what actually is public opinion. So political socialization begins at an early age. It's something that usually comes about when we're young kids. We grow up in an environment in the United States. We grow up in an environment at a very patriotic environment, from saying the Pledge of Allegiance in public, the Pledge of Allegiance in the school as a young child, and then growing up with that patriotic mindset of being an American. And then, of course, that depending on public events, says the recital of the Star Spangled Banner, the national anthem. So over the years, we have seen a widening difference in political values, especially the last 10, 20 years. There's been a deep divide of political values. And so what is public opinion? Public opinion is basically any type of view that you have that you publicly say to somebody. It could be just one individual, and that's your public opinion. Once you say that to the one individual, it's become for public knowledge. And you just don't have to say, you can also write it on social media. Even if your account is private, once you write it there, it's for others to see. And so you may have a public opinion about the government, about your local government, about the police force, about maybe a particular politician, a certain policy, education, whatever it is, but it's your public opinion. And of course, politicians always want to know what the public opinion is about a certain topic that may affect their election. So our personal opinions, including our political opinions, contribute to public opinion but not represent the entire public. So it sounds very confusing, it may sound there, but it's basically, public opinion doesn't have to represent the entire public. It's only your opinion about it. Political socialization. People form their own political ideology through experiences, interaction with others. If you surround yourself in a homogeneous community, meaning people with the same mentality as you, so for example, if you are a person who is very to the left of the political spectrum, meaning you're very liberal, democratic, you believe in government intervention, you believe everyone should have the equality and everyone should have access to all material, then of course, and you grew up in that environment, that's going to be strong beliefs. On the opposite side, if you are in a homogeneous community where everyone is the same in regards to believing in conservative values, believing less government intervention, no social welfare, very limited use of the social welfare, then of course, if you grow up in that environment, you're going to continue with those political ideologies. And you necessarily don't have to be like a person of voting. You can always have a political socialization, political ideology, without having to vote. And so that is formed through family, and of course at the kitchen table when you're eating dinner with the family member. those conversations happen, and those ideologies usually grow with you at times. So it's, of course, it's the process of learning the norms of the political system through other than any societal institution. So aside from schools, which is a societal institution, you learn it through your surroundings. Again, it begins at a very early age, and people hear, like kids hear public opinion from adults, and they start to form their beliefs. Um, Usually, the connotation is that a student goes into college being more liberal, then once they graduate and are in the workforce, they turn more conservative. Uh, that's just one notion, but however, that's not always true for all individuals. Of course, agents of political socializations are people or entities who teach and influence others about politics through the use of information. So, individuals can be our family members, teachers, friends, or other colleagues. So, these individuals who try to instill some form of politics in our mindset. So, I am not an agent of political socialization in regards to enforcing you to be part of one party or the other. I'm just the one giving the instruction and making you form your own opinion, your own political socialization. You can see here how a percentage of partisan orientation in 1992. So the middle, of course, the green is pure independent, and the left is purple is strong Democrat, and more to the right, red is a strong Democrat. So political ideology, it's the attitudes and beliefs that help shape our political theory and our format. And so, of course, a lot of our political ideology comes from age, education, and changed circumstances or any new experiences that we have. So again, our age and education, our circumstances really shape our political ideology. Usually, an individual who is highly educated with a college degree tends to be leaning more to the left than to the right. And of course, the older you get, you start to become a little more conservative. And sometimes those certain circumstances change your aspects to become more to the left, which is on the liberal side, or more to the right, being more conservative. Political polarization, that happens when individuals' political ideologies, of course, are more likely defined by the political party in which they align. So, your political ideologies may really align to a certain political party in the spectrum. That would be considered polarization. So, just to review questions, just for your own thought to think about, and take a minute to think about this question is: where do your beliefs generate? We are just talking about some. So, where do your beliefs generate? So you can see here protests also. Sometimes individuals are influenced to form some form of protest. So, however, there is media bias and polarization. Political media foster polarization, right? So some outlets in the news style themselves as more liberal or conservative, and their content, of course, um, goes towards that political polarization and represents that certain individual because they want to hear those beliefs. And of course, that can be something of a dangerous factor when the news becomes very polarized. You can see the difference now, how certain topics are covered in the media. Depending on who is covering the topic, you can see it lean more towards the left, more liberal, or more towards the right as conservative. So, the gun versus butter debate, right? Dividing the national budget divides public opinion. So some individuals believe that the military deserves to have a very large budget, and of course, and less social benefits, while others propose a smaller military and larger social benefits. So of course, we can't have both. So we can't have both a large military and large social benefits. Right? Social benefits including Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security and such. So where should our resources go? Should we have a larger military, or should we have much larger social benefits? The choices force the citizens into opposing groups. So this is where we become more polarized. This is where individuals start to polarize their beliefs and saying, no, we need a stronger military, we need more weapons. Usually, more than likely not, when an individual believes in a larger military, more guns, that person tends to lean more to the right, to the conservative side, and someone who wants more social benefits, of course, moves more towards the left. So, of course, you can see here the spectrum of political ideology. So, usually in this country, we have people in the center, who people are in the middle of of the line. And we have liberalism, of course, believes individual liberties and rights and the idea of free will with little role for government, which is liberalism. Of course, that's classical liberalism. Moderate liberalism, of course, prioritizes individual liberties, staying out of the economy. And of course, we have as well socialism, a bit of that, where we have government uses authority to promote social economic equality. We don't have a full authority of a socialism government in this country. However, we do have certain social economic, like Social Security, run by the government and given to the people. Conservatism, we do have that in this country, of course. Um, we prioritize individual liberties, preferring a smaller government that stays out of the economy. Um, we don't have such a fascist government in this country. There was one, of course, in Germany many decades ago, when Adolf Hitler was alive. Of course, the Nazi Party was a fascist party, but we have not had one of those in this country. So, of course, you can see here where the political spectrum in the U.S. people on the left tends to be more towards the Democratic side and more of the right side of conservatism. So, which comes closer? So you can see here people's viewpoints on healthcare, unemployment, and of course the Patriot Act. Measuring public opinion, political sciences measure public opinion on political issues, candidates, and the voting process through polling. Of course, polling involves asking population a series of questions, and the data represents what individuals are wanting to see or the polling involves the series of questions, of course, that represent the data of where individuals are in a particular issue. So, polling methodology, scientific polling applies a methodology to create a valid poll. Um, and so, of course, you want a poll that has enough data and also enough the validity of the questions are not tricky towards what person may respond because of the answer was not clear. So you understand you'll understand what their individual answer is. And so, of course, we have researchers identified the desired group of response they want to interview. So, of course, they get samples or random samples, a limited number of people. Of course, a representative sample is a demographic distribution similar to overall population. And so, of course, questions about demographics may be asked early poll, so we know where that representative sample comes from. So good polling questions are very simply worded, easy to understand, and free of bias. All right. So leading questions encourage respondents to give a desired answer. So that's what they are. So the margin of error is the number that states how far the poll results from the actual fact. So the margin of error, usually you want a +3 and -3. You don't want higher than that, so there's like a margin of error. Maybe what that means is maybe the person didn't answer the question correctly, or there may have been an error in how the question was answered. So you have to be careful. See that there may be a margin of error by 3 or more percentage when a poll comes out. So of course, there are some researchers who conduct polls in person. However, they have transmitted to mail, telephone, internet, and social media. So there's a lot of social media platforms, for example, like LinkedIn, that allow for polling technology to get people's opinion on certain matters or facts. Different target populations engage one type of technology over the other. of course, telephone and mail surveys ensure the respondents are not participating in the polling multiple times. Of course, there are polling problems that make polling less accurate. So, of course, there's a lack of representative knowledge. People may be asked questions that they have really no knowledge about. Social pressure to answer the questions a particular way. There may be a lot of errors, data analysis errors, or high margin of error. So here goes poll. And so, why are social policies controversial? So think about that for a minute of why social policies are controversial. So the cell phone problem, cell phones pose a unique problem to Poland because its mobile phones are not tied to a specific geographic region. So for example, there may be a time where your phone is from one area code of a part of the country, but you live in a different area code. And so it's very hard to determine the unique polling to a certain area code because not everybody lives there, is from there. Of course, individuals who are 35 and under usually don't answer their cell phone. So a lot of polls are ignored. And of course, many prefer texting. And of course, there's a do not call list and call blocking. So, what affects personal political opinion? Of course, we talked about this: attitude, beliefs, political socialization, life experiences, and geographic location, your education, and media. So, how groups voted in the 2020 election? You can see here, men voted far more for the right side, conservatism on men, and then liberals. Of course, you can see by race, African Americans still dominate the party of Democrats, Asians as well, Hispanics. You can see their age-wise as well. See, if you look at the ages, you can tell. So you can see the more older you get, the tend to be more conservative. So effects of public opinion. Public opinion can change. Variability polls. Constant media coverage, and of course, increased media coverage. So, of course, approval for U.S. political institutions. Generally, there is a defi support. Presidential approval begins high. Congressional approval ratings experience high and lows. So here, of course, you can see how individuals rank the president at this time about his approval ratings. Of course, you can see your congressional job approval ratings. Includes your former President Trump and, of course, President Obama. And that is it for Chapter 6. Thank you for joining me.